at 901-327-3400. WMQM AM 1600. Because guess what? We have guests who are exciting, interesting, fascinating, knowledgeable, and thought-provoking. And if you don't believe me, just hold on. You can give us a call at 327-901-618. Okay. You can also see the show on YouTube. We debate all the issues, take positions, define, defend those positions, offer analysis, present solutions, and we provide leadership, Vox Populi, the voice of the people. And today we are talking about trailblazing women with the likes of Ida B. Wells. An idea that came to us from Brother Jabril last week. In fact, I want to introduce my panel. To my right, Brother Jabril Shabazz from the Marcus Garvey Institute. And a long time ago, Marcus Garvey raised a question. He asked, where are your schools? Brother Jabril said, here's one right here located at Parkway and Lauderdale. Brother Jabril Shabazz, everybody. And to the right of Brother Jabril is Paul Outlaw, Kakayi, homeopathic researcher. And coming on around the table, Talut El-Amin, a brother with a wealth of experience. You know, wealth, that means a lot of. It's prolific. Sure. A lot of it, wealth. And we have a new and special guest, Miss Kim. And Miss Kim, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I want to go to Brother Jabril. We're going to start off with the question of the achievements of women.
Well, I am an entrepreneur. I've had a business for about 2 or 3 years now in fashion, merchandising and styling and things of that nature. But I do work closely with young people, and I believe that there's a grassroots effort that is missing with young people.
Okay.
And in particular, my generation. When I say young people, I mean young people maybe 25 and under. When I say my generation, I mean 25, maybe 25 to 40.
Okay. And we said we want to put some emphasis on Ida B. Wells, but feel free to talk about Fannie Lou Hamer, whoever woman, female trailblazer you want to talk about today. But it reminds me of the club women of the early 1900s. And they had a motto. They were all women. And the motto was lifting as we climb. And I want to add, lifting as we climb plus while we fight. I want to go to Brother Jabril first.
Yes, sir, brother. I'm glad everybody's doing okay today. You know, two of my heroes are Fannie Lou Hamer and Ida B. Wells. Should I say sheroes, to be politically correct. Of course, Harriet Tubman, you know, she was one of those people who made me understand, you know, the courage of black women in America. There have always been black women who have led black people, you know, in the past, in our history. And our history is so old that we don't know where it began. So, you know, but Fannie Lou Hamer, you know, she taught me some things, you know, because I remember in 1964, when that Democratic Party would not allow black folks to have a seat in the overall party. And Fannie Lou Hamer had a delegation from Mississippi. It went to, I'm trying to think of what city was that the convention was in. But anyway, she got there and she demanded that delegation be seated in the convention. And that's when I learned the term, you know, that we tired. We sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know, that to me tell me that, look, you know, the next move that I make might be a left hook. You know what I'm saying? So I just love that sister. Her fire and her tenacity, you know, have stood the time. They stood the test. You know, that woman was jumped on by police down there in Mississippi, sheriff department folks down there, come in the house, drag her out, you know, beat up her husband, all kind of stuff, you know, at the time, you know. But she withstood the test, you know, and she died later of probably some of the internal injury that she has sustained in those brutal attacks, you know, but she's a hero. When you talk about Ida B. Wells, who started here in Memphis, Tennessee, did a report on the brothers who had the first supermarket the first supermarket in this country.
People's Grocery.
People's Grocery.
People's
down
Grocery,
on Bill
right.
Street. You know, and that was a mall that was set up and still used today by all these major grocery companies. They had, I forget what the conflict was in the city at the time, but I think the people just wanted to run them out of business.
Right. Well, they were highly competitive.
They wanted what they had.
Yes.
So they lynched these brothers. You know, what I understood, they took them down on the north side of Front Street. Somewhere down there. That's the north side of Front Street. And there used to be a dog pound down there a long time ago.
Yeah.
But they lynched these brothers down there. Ida B. Well was so took off by that, you know. She decided she would investigate this. Now, her business was at corner Mississippi and Walker, which was a newspaper business. And she went down and started doing the research. These people firebombed her home.
Yeah.
Firebombed her newspaper office, burned up a lot of paper or whatever it was in there at the time, you know, and this kind of thing. And then she just got to a point where they noticed that they were going to lynch her in this city.
Right.
So she left 4 days in the morning and hopped the train and got up out of here with Chicago, you know. But anyway, long story short, the NAACP was coming aboard, you know, this thing at the time, started by Spingard. And they needed a black face to represent the NAACP. In that moment, Ida B. Well, she complied with that position. But when she really was orientated in what they wanted her to do, she declined. She stepped back, and they chose W.B. Du Bois. She was willing to carry out that Entreton position, you know, up until, you know, all the rest of them came into you know, so,
We'll say something about Du Bois and Monroe Trotter in that equation a little bit later. Ms. Kim, was she not a fighter as well?
She was.
And what about that deal on the train? And she was told, almost demanding, there was demand that she move to the back of the bus.
Right.
And
Back to train.
she said,
Uh-huh.
nothing is doing nothing on that question.
Right.
So the conductor tried to throw her off, and she bit him,
She did.
almost bit his hand off.
Uh-huh.
He said, dude was down there screaming like a, don't know what. Talk to us about Ida B. Wells.
Oh wow, yeah, she was a fighter in a physical sense. We know she didn't take it. She just didn't take it. What I find so intriguing about Ida B. Wells was that she during her time she was not a soul. She wasn't the sole fighter, but she was known to be so. Very interesting that she just didn't take, hey, you got to get out your seat. No,
Right.
I'm gonna sit here and I'm fight for my seat. And they eventually did put her off of the train, and she eventually did go to court about it, and she won, and it was overturned. It was overturned. So not only did she fight in the sense of, hey, this is an injustice right now, but even later on, it's an injustice, and I'm gonna fight in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Brother Talut, tell us about some strides and trailblazing issues of women.
Well, I'd like to deal with the right now.
Let's go for it. Go for it.
Would like to speak about an issue that came about in the last few days down in the county commission, okay, with Henri Brooks, who's probably, I think she's the longest running elected official, female at this time. Okay, she's been in office longer than anybody at this time, in other words. But Henri Brooks has a particular spirit, okay, that she has carried along with her for as long as she's been in politics. Okay, you know, she declined to acknowledge the Pledge of Allegiance and all these types of things when she was in the State House, and also is still carrying that on right now down in the county commission. Okay, and wherever else she's served. Okay, a few days ago, at the, I think it was Monday's meeting, okay, an issue came up about a contract, okay, of a roofing contract Henry Brooks brought up the issue regarding minority part of that, our share. Okay? But what happened is a group of Latinos stepped in to take our share as minorities, right? Brooks became upset, okay, about that and challenged their position as far as being a minority versus African American minority share. Well, it got in a heated conversation, okay, a debate rather, and one of the Latino leaders stepped forward and claimed an equal right to the share that African Americans have. And they should have a right to that share, technically, as an African American. And tied our history with their history, being in America and being in Memphis. Well, Henry Brooks said, no, you don't have a right to that. Don't compare your struggle with our struggle, because you came here in essence on your own accord, free will. We didn't. Well, the Caucasian commissioners became incensed about that, and they decided to challenge Miss Brooks. Okay, and one of them even claimed, made an attack on her civility because of her presentation, which he and no other Caucasian have a right to challenge the civility of an African American when they are presenting themselves in the defense of their own people.
That's right.
What civility is necessary?
Yeah, sure.
None.
That's right.
Okay, and if she became upset, and if she saw it as a threat to her people, then she had a right
That's right.
to pound the top of the table and demand things go in according to the way that they are dictated to go.
Okay.
Okay, and challenging her civility, challenging her grammar, you know, these are, of which Caucasians and ignorant African Americans always judge their African Americans by their grammar and context and all that stuff in relationship. And our civility is always on the table, you know, when we make our challenges. But Henry Brooks, in essence, I feel have the spirit of Ida B. Wells.
No doubt.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think that
Very good.
Sure.
No, don't keep talking. I'm just
So-
saying a good comparison. a
right.
good analogy.
So I'm saying the struggle of Ida B. Wells in Memphis, Tennessee, I'm witnessing the same struggle in Henry Brooks in Memphis, Tennessee. Okay? So that let us know we're never alone. We're going to always have warriors among us who are fighting for our cause, be it men or women.
Okay.
That's true.
Brother Paul Outlaw,
Yeah,
tell us about it.
well, I want to first start off by saying, you know, that Ida B. Wells' spirit is emanating in Sister Brooks, Trussoni, because number one, Ida B. Wells was an investigative journalist, revealing facts about lynching. And we as a people have to recognize the propaganda that's going on. Right now, there's one important issue that's going on with Sister Brooks, that they are actually setting a stage to execute. And that is to keep her out of the juvenile court system. Because she revealed a lot of atrocities going on in the juvenile system. You're embezzling money, you're doing the wrong things with the money. At the same time, they have one person of another persuasion that has been in that position for a while, and they're trying to re-elect her. We have to recognize that they're actually trying to lynch our sister. And we have to pull behind her and support her, and don't leave her out there naked.
That's right. Exactly.
We have to let her know that we support her, and when it comes time to vote for the juvenile court system, we need to put this sister in, because number one, she's not afraid. And a lot of us need to show that we're not afraid when somebody speaks on behalf of us, because there's no way any persuasion can compare their history to the suffering that we've been through for more than 500 years. They're trying to tell us 500 years. It's been more than 500 years. And they're the minority of the minority. I understand you got some issues, but recognize what goes on in our community is eventually going to happen to you. And you got to recognize that and understand that if we don't set a precedence right now, the same stuff that you're trying to represent in front of them in the city council is going to happen to you 10 or 20 years later. So you got to, these people have to recognize that we're the litmus test.
Okay.
If it's happening to us now, you might get that contract because they might put a lot of propaganda out there that will allow you to get that contract. Okay. But later on, you're going to be dealing with the same issue. So they need to recognize what we're going through now, they're going to have to go through later.
I hear you. I hear you calling for a couple of moves, but I want to go to Ms. Kim. I saw you making some notes. What do you say?
Well, investigative journalism was what I wrote even before you said it, because that was one of Ida B. Wells' big things, was just revealing what was going on amongst us and revealing it to the world, saying, hey, this is what's going on. Whether you do something about it or not, you need to know the numbers. And that's something we, especially my generation, we don't really pay attention to, is the numbers. We see it happening on the news. We tend to watch, the news, and the news sensationalizes things and they blow it up and they make it a big deal. And what I found...
It's not accurate.
It's not accurate at all. It's not accurate. Which is why we need the numbers. We need it to be reported, and we need it to be in 19 so-and-so this happened. In 19 so-and-so this happened. This is why it happened. Because you're going to notice a trend. And right now we see trends in pop culture, but we don't see the trends with what's going on with our people.
Because many of them are subliminal.
Right.
And that's our job here. And our job here is to make it clear. Right. Continue.
But yeah, her investigative journalism is what is so profound to me, because we don't have a lot of that in my generation. We don't have a lot of people saying, look what's been going on, look what's been going on, look at the numbers, it's something big about to happen, pay attention, pay attention. Sure. So we're missing that today.
All right, we've got 10, 11 minutes.
It can be regained. No doubt. It can be regained.
You know, I want to say something that in the same, what the white people problem is that they trying the best. They put out they go out on full court press trying to protect the lie. And the lie is that our history, they wanna own it, but they want to tell it back to us in a whole another kind of fashion, to just like they did with religion. They take our story, twist it around, and give it back to us and make us slaves to them. Just like Dr. Clark said, they came to Africa, we had what we had. We had a God our understanding, and it served us. They gave us the Bible. We end up with years later, end up with the Bible, but we lost our land. So what I'm saying is that what Sister Brooks did down at City Hall, down at the County Commission, is that she opened up the arena for discussion. But when you got a majority culture, they have to protect the lie to keep it from coming out and opening up the minds of black people to the truth. Dr. Richmond put it in simply this morning, how he told that story. But see, it's up to black people. See, if you can keep us ignorant outdoors, you can keep on maintaining the status quo. The protocol gonna be the same. But if we start gaining knowledge and information concerning who we are as a people in the Western world, when we see our plight on the world, on the earth plane, directly connected to other people of color plights, then that's the truth that's going to make people of color rise up all over the planet and tell this, woo man, I had some acronym in there. Tell this person where to go. Find you another planet, because if you're not going to change your way on this planet, then you got to find you another one to live on, because we ain't going to have it.
Okay. How do you see this historical situation, if I may, unfolding, Talut?
Well, we as a people must come to realize, again, we have no help coming from anywhere,
Not even from Jesus?
from nobody. We have to take charge of our lives with our own hands, okay?
Yes.
Plot the course
Uh-huh.
for our future,
Yes.
and then walk into it. But there's no help.
Walk into
Yeah,
it.
but there's one help.
Okay.
If a human being decides what he or she wants to do, and then act on it, then help from God.
Okay. Help from,
Okay.
you're calling for a commitment
It does.
to a cause.
Right. And
Based on principles and convictions. That's what I hear you saying.
absolutely.
Go ahead, and I want to go to Brother Outlaw.
And Sister Brooks, Sister Henri Brooks, has a history
Surely.
of challenging the wrong
So true.
in our community. Decades. When I say history, I'm not talking about a couple
You're
years.
saying it right.
I'm saying decades of challenges.
Yeah.
Okay, confronting the wrongs with immense courage and tenacity, and you know. So we can't allow Caucasian men to attack her and call her uncivilized and degrade her as a woman, and we stand back and do nothing.
Okay. Brother Paul,
I mean,
Brother Outlaw.
it is what it is. The truth hurts. This young lady just mentioned the truth. I can't get off of Sister Brooks. Brooks doesn't know me. My name is Paul Outlaw, and I'm telling everybody to vote for you.
That's right.
For the juvenile court position. But the truth hurts. I mean, they tried to go on sidebars because she also mentioned that those guys in those sheets, they recognized who they were, because if they didn't recognize, they wouldn't have had a problem with what she said. This has been going on for years. The sister just had the kahunas to say what was the truth. And we got to support her, and we have to start supporting our leaders that speak the truth.
Surely.
And that's where we're going wrong. We're trying to play the game with the system. We know it doesn't work. But if we're going to play any part in it, we got to support the brothers and sisters that are taking part in making a sacrifice. Because you're actually making a sacrifice when you go into these politics. They buy us out. The ones that don't have a good foundation and a following, 2 years later, they're sold out. And they're on the same agenda as them. So that's because we're not supporting them when they tell the truth. Anybody that tells the truth needs to have the support of us, and this Sister Brooks shouldn't have to worry about anything when it comes to this election. They don't want her in there because she revealed some of the injustices down there. She's the only person in this whole western part of Tennessee that took this juvenile system to Congress and put them on the map. And then you're gonna try to trump up some stuff to make people think. Black people don't think about what they're talking about. The sister said the truth and support her because of that.
Sure.
And we'll deal with the rest later.
Right.
Okay.
In-house.
Okay. Brother Paul mentioned before that, he mentions some things about the lack of awareness, particularly on this ethnic group on the other hand. And I heard alliance. You didn't use the word alliance, but I could get that out of that particular statement that you made.
Well,
How should this unfold in terms of coming together with people who have a similar problem?
well, let me just say this about my history.
Okay.
You know, I lived in a Hispanic country for almost 5 years. I'm fluent in Spanish.
Okay.
I know their plight.
Okay.
I know the same thing that's going on here is going on in those countries. The problem is they don't recognize that they're African. They've been
Brainwashed.
they have had more damage done to them in their own countries because they can't even identify being African anymore. We don't recognize that their plight has been the Spaniards were the worst of all, and they just raped and pillaged those indigenous people there, and the African part of them has just been washed away. So they are in a position where they're trying to identify with the oppressor, and they don't recognize what part of us they have in them. So they're confused. So that's a whole nother diaspora of trying to solve this issue.
Okay.
Because they're going to put a device, in order to conquer, you must divide, right? So they've divided us. So there's a lot more work we got to do to get the Hispanic community. And if you've traveled like I have, you'll notice that in the Hispanic countries, there are just as many blacks in those countries as there is in the United States, and they're not the minority.
That's right.
What happens is that we're stuck in our neighborhoods. We only see what's going on right here. Most of us don't travel out of the city, and we don't know what's going on around the world.
That's so true.
It's happening all over, and we have to galvanize so black people around the world can galvanize together.
I want to go to Ms. Kim right quick. Ms. Kim, what should be done in light of our discussion, and who should do it? And feel free to go to your notes.
Well, I am going to my notes, piggybacking off of what the brother just mentioned. And I have to speak towards my generation. I can't speak towards my parents' generation or my grandparents' generation. But what I find with us is that we are content. We are happy with we're happy that we're making more money now. We're content that, you know, we have these nice office jobs, and as long as we have this, then and our children are doing better, then we're okay. And I see that really missing with us. And I also see missing with us is having mentors and people in front of us who are heading these grassroots efforts. Because what I do not see is just simple walking down the street, gathering people in their neighborhoods and saying, what can we do to make our neighborhoods better? I don't see that. I see a lot of our people waiting for politics and waiting for the government to come and make it better, but I don't see it within us saying, hey neighbor, we got trash on front front yard, what are we gonna do? Can we just go pick it up? So I think it's going to take a lot of individual empowerment to get this thing going.
I hear you calling. I hear you calling for action. That's what I hear, Brother Jabril.
I see it in a collective sense. It calls for a collective, concerted effort to solve our problem.
Right.
But we're going to have to find a way to define money.
Okay.
And we got revenue. We're going to have to put our own definition on wealth. You know, because see, money is not wealth. Individual wealth is not collective wealth. You know, we got a lot of individual wealthy people.
Right.
But if that wealth is not concentrated, it means nothing on the scope of the world. You know, so we got to redefine a lot of things. Now, Dr. Richmond made a lot of good points this morning, but one point he made about what Carnegie Woodson said.
Okay.
See, that book, The Miseducation of the Negro, is a basic text that every person over 11 should read. You know, because it redefines who we are as a people and establish a protocol for us to follow. It guides us down through the maze, the confusion in the Western world. You know, the reason paper and trash and rubbish is sitting outside the porch, because the person inside hadn't been properly educated. To know that, you know, cleanliness is next to godliness. You know, and they weren't just talking about the streets, they're talking about you as a human being. You know, you clean the body, then you got a clean temple. You can go do anything you want to do. You know, when the temple functions properly. But back to the status quo. The status quo is that they gonna have to protect this lie with their life. They teach the children this. You know, little boy called me a nigger on the side of the street. You know, because I came to a white neighborhood. Mama, look at that nigger. Where you learn it from? I didn't teach it to him.
All right, we're going to have to end it there. Are we going to be able to do?
White member.
Unfortunately, we come to the end of another great and dynamic show.